Greetings all. Did the Emperor doom the Primarchs to the influence of chaos from the very start, with the use of forbidden archaic knowledge given to him by the Chaos Gods from the warp gate of Molech? In the vast grim darkness of the 41st millennium, the Horus Heresy remains one of the most pivotal and tragic events in the Warhammer 40k lore. But was the rebellion planned from the start? The galaxy-spanning civil war that tore the Imperium apart was not merely the product of human ambition or mere chance. It was, many argue, a meticulously orchestrated chaos design and manipulation spanning millennia. Were the Primarchs doomed by the use of chaotic knowledge by the Emperor in their creation? Central to this narrative are key figures such as Erebus, Lorgar, the Emperor, and Kor Phaeron. This video aims to explore in depth whether chaos planned the Horus Heresy from the start, or if the tragedy was a confluence of unpredictabilities and mortal failing, and answer the question whether the heresy was planned from the very beginning.
The greatest deception is that which leads man to believe they act of their own free will.
Before delving into the possibility that chaos had schemed the Horus Heresy from inception, one must consider the roles of Erebus and Lorgar, two of chaos's most vital instruments. Erebus, the first chaplain of the Wordbearers Legion, was a master of manipulation and subversion. His actions were instrumental in enabling Horus's fall, serving as the hidden hand guiding the narrative towards chaos. Lorgar, Primarch of the Wordbearers and devout believer in the Chaos Gods, was pivotal in the spiritual corruption that laid the foundation for heresy. Unlike other Primarchs who shunned religious worship, Lorgar embraced the Emperor as a god and sought to instill his faith within the Legion's Astartes, much to the Emperor's displeasure. His fervent spirituality made the Wordbearers the perfect medium for chaos to infiltrate the Imperium's foundations. Together, Erebus and Lorgar cultivated a religious zealotry that was both devout and dangerously malleable, easily corrupted by the whisperings of the ruinous powers. Their devotion was not merely frivolous worship, but a deliberate opening through which chaos influenced humanity's greatest champions. The Emperor of Mankind envisioned a future of enlightened secular human unity, free from superstition and the shackles of religion. His great crusade was intended to unite mankind and impose order upon a fractured galaxy. Yet this vision unwittingly sowed the seeds of its undoing. The Emperor's prohibition against religious worship, as well as his own semi-divine status, proved deeply alienating to many, especially Lorgar and his Wordbearers. Kor Phaeron, the chief religious figure and first captain of the Wordbearers, served as a crucial liaison between Lorgar's blind faith and the whispering promises of chaos. His role in forwarding Lorgar's spiritual journey was indispensable in leading the Legion into the arms of chaos. Kor Phaeron's fanatical dedication to the Chaos Gods arguably represents the first significant breach between the Imperium's rigid secularism and the insidious pull of the Warp's corrupting influence. The intrinsic contradiction between the Emperor's secular vision and the human propensity for belief and worship created a vulnerability that Chaos deftly exploited. This schism was arguably the first step in Chaos's long game to undermine the Imperium from within. Upon orchestrating Horus's near-fatal wounding on Davin, Erebus guided the War Master into the Eye of Terror, ensuring the corrupted War Master's initiation into the power of chaos. His role as instigator and manipulator suggests a far-reaching scheme rather than a mere opportunistic strike in the timeline. Erebus's actions reflect the patient and subtle nature of Chaos's strategy, its preference for infiltration and corruption over outright assault. Through Erebus, Chaos seeded doubt, fear, and ambition within Horus, who had been the Emperor's favoured son and greatest general. While Horus's eventual fall to chaos precipitated the heresy, it was Erebus who illuminated the path and tainted the War Master's soul. Moreover, Erebus, aware of the consequences of worship and manipulation, was instrumental in preparing the Wordbearers to serve as Chaos's vanguard. His journey from loyal chaplain to the harbinger of betrayal exhibits a careful plan operating on multiple fronts. How far then can one say Chaos planned the Horus Heresy from the outset? The answer lies in interpreting the nature of warp entities and their interaction with mortal affairs. The Chaos Gods operate not as linear strategists, but as eternal malevolent forces who inspire and manipulate. They do not merely wait for favourable opportunities, they shape the galaxy through influence spanning eons. The subtle shifts in belief and the spiritual cracks within the Imperium were signs that Chaos had set the stage long before the Horus Heresy unfolded. From Lorgar's religious devotion and Kor Phaeron's ecclesiastical guidance to Erebus's pointed interventions, the heresy was less a sudden explosion and more a century-long process of deliberate nurturing of chaos-aligned forces. These figures acted as chaos instruments, moulding human events in ways that satisfied the demands of the ruinous powers. One might argue that chaos only expedited events once Horus was corrupted, but the social and spiritual landscape for such a betrayal had been carefully engineered over decades, if not centuries. An essential element in evaluating Chaos's plan is the role of the Emperor himself. His unwavering commitment to secularism and his underestimation of human spiritual inclination may have inadvertently facilitated Chaos's influence. The Emperor's refusal to embrace or even tolerate worship left a spiritual vacuum, one eagerly filled by Lorgar and Kor Phaeron's zealotry. This unintended consequence of the Emperor's grand design created a perfect paradox, where his greatest strength, his near godlike power, also became the source of profound weakness. The Imperium's psychic and spiritual defenses were ill-equipped to combat the insidious corruption emanating from the warp. Thus, the Emperor's ideological rigidity became an unintentional ally to Chaos's designs. Was the Horus Heresy an inevitability, carefully scripted by Chaos from the moment of the Emperor's unification of man? Or was it the tragic confluence of human ambition, ideological rigidity, and the pervasive corruption of the warp? The evidence heavily leans towards Chaos having long planned and prepared its eventual upheaval through careful manipulation of key figures. Erebus, Lorgar, and Kor Phaeron were not mere pawns, but architected agents in a complex game that Chaos has played since before the Emperor's Great Crusade. Their actions and beliefs represent a gradual erosion of loyalty to the Emperor, nurtured patiently by the whisperings of Chaos. The Emperor's own inflexibility and misunderstanding of human nature created the conditions ripe for betrayal. As Erebus so chillingly implied, the true tragedy not lies in open war, but in the hidden strings binding men's wills, guiding them unknowingly towards ruin. The Horus Heresy was not merely a rebellion, it was the inevitable flowering of decades of spiritual decay and corruption, cultivated by Chaos's ceaseless hunger. In the end, the Horus Heresy was not just an act of treachery by a favoured son, but a cosmic victory for Chaos, achieved not by brute force but by patient, relentless planning that used men's faith and flaws as its instruments. Whether by divine foresight or horrid miscalculation, the Imperium found itself ensnared in a nightmare of its own making, and Chaos was the ever-watchful puppeteer behind the curtain. This archive has now been fully decoded. Continue your journey into the librarian with the video displayed on screen. The vast wealth of the archives continues to reveal new knowledge, the dark history of the 40k verse. In the grim dark of the far future, there is only war.